Mr. Mamani, we hope that the Secretary, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy will be joining us after he is able to do his meeting in the PMO. That is the information I got, that he has to attend a meeting and we requested him to join anytime till 1 p.m. Distinguished panelists, the speakers, and very eminent group of experts, professionals, former policymakers who are attending this program today. This is one of the most largely attended program. I think we have close to 100 participants, and the quality of participation is very, very high. I think in the recent months, we did a number of programs, but obviously renewable is the most popular, and we are touching almost 100 participants today. We chose this topic not to discuss the theory of renewable, but to discuss the really how we go ahead, the implementation aspects, and the aspects which cover opportunities for India and also challenge in this 500,000 megawatt, 500 gigawatt is a big number. In all these years after independence, we have been able to do in our conventional power as well as on non-conventional power, the renewable system, we have come to a figure close to 400,000 megawatt in all these years, in all these decades. And therefore, 500,000 megawatt by 2030, or maybe a couple of years this way or that way, is a huge challenge. But this challenge is emanating from the fact that our confidence level has increased. Confidence level of India in the last 10-15 years to do large number of projects, large capacity of projects, commission them, that confidence level has enhanced considerably. Bankers and financiers have also been very generous in the past, particularly in last 15-20 years. And therefore, this challenging target that has been set by the Prime Minister and the Government of India is a target which definitely is worth pursuing. And as I said, it is difficult, but it is not unless. And similarly, there are large number of challenges. And again, I try to list out for discussion. The first opportunity that I found out is that it gives us a great scope for setting right our skewed power sector profile. 70% to be coming from fossil fuel, more than 70% of generation. Obviously, because we depended hugely on our internal resource, and over the decades, we have been able to do things which have helped us in electrifying India, in doing the industrialization, in doing the service business support of our infrastructure. But then somehow we have crossed 70% of generation from non-renewable sector. So therefore, this is a great opportunity. The emergence of technology, the developments that have happened in last 5-6 years particularly, and the resolve of the government to have 500 gigawatt by 2030 plus, that something gives us an opportunity to set right this skewed power sector profile that we had, and its effect is already surfacing. This is a strong support to the climate change challenge. As you know, all of us are facing the climate change challenges all over the world. Things are really, earlier we were talking, but now we are really experiencing, we are witnessing all sorts of phenomena, most of them attributable to the climate change. And therefore, this gives us an opportunity to contribute not only for this region or not only for this country, but environment, atmosphere is global. And that is another great opportunity to contribute toward addressing the climate change concerns. This also gives us an opportunity to provide electricity to rural India in a better way. we in the power sector have been facing the challenge of huge distribution systems, long transmission and distribution lines, large losses in the system. And therefore, if we piggyback on what we are doing on large renewable projects, also projects which are not as large, but in different areas, and link it with the distribution to agriculture and to rural area, definitely this target that we have set as a subset of that definitely would help in enabling India, enabling the Indian power sector planners and managers to reach electricity at time that they need. We have been in the power sector and we always used to say, let the agriculture be done in the late night so that our load curve gets balanced. But then now it is the day. In the day we have sun, they can definitely have a sense of relief when we electrify rural India through this type of a system. So that's another great opportunity. The fourth opportunity that it gives us, because there are challenges and therefore it is an opportunity to harness our unharnessed hydro potential. As you all know, we have 150 gigawatt of hydro potential and we have done one third of that. Not all 150 are very easy to do, but a large amount of such projects which could be done, which could be undertaken over a period of time, could definitely find a place in the scheme of things that emanate from the challenge that we would be facing out of this 500 gigawatt of renewable. It has also given an opportunity to become a major hub in this part of the world and in a global context for manufacturing of renewable systems. Already things have started in a big way. It has given us an opportunity not only to become manufacturing hub for solar modules, cells, etc., but also you have seen in the last 2-3 years great announcements being made by public sector and some of the large private sector companies to get into production of hydrogen and such things. So I think research, technology development, and Indian business, both in the private sector, public sector, as well as in government, being alive to the urgent need to get into technology development and create substitute and alternatives, whether it is storage or it is hydrogen or anything. So therefore, this is also an opportunity because we have undertaken this task of 500 gigawatt of renewable. It gives us an opportunity to update ourselves on technology and make India a hub of manufacturing, new technology development, and followed by that, the manufacturing sector. It has also given us an opportunity to have cross-border power trade. Not all the countries in the region have similar advantages of having solar and renewables together with wind, solar, and also now floating solar. I think recently we got news from NTPC that they have done 125 megawatt of solar system in Simadri, and they are close to doing 250 megawatt cumulatively in the next 1 year of floating. So I think new ideas, new initiatives are coming, and the scope that it has provided. So there are enormous opportunity. But this is some of the opportunities that I tried to list. But there are equal or perhaps more number of challenges as well. And the first thing, if you want to do 500 gigawatt and maybe beyond that, because our capacity in the solar system is almost, potential is almost 750 gigawatt, you have challenge. We have challenge of having land. I mean, even in today's context of developing these projects, developers do feel the difficulty, the challenge of having adequate amount of land. India has land, that is the advantage, but having land and then doing it in the time frame that we are talking would be a challenge. And perhaps there what the Ministry of Highways, Transport and Highways did, that they started taking care of the 80% or more than 80% of land for highways. Some similar arrangement may have to be done by the government so that the developers, I mean, not for all developers, but for a large number of developers, that would be a great convenience. Most important is also generating enough demand. Today, we have almost 400,000 megawatt of power in the country. in terms of capacity. We could generate more power, but have we been able to create more demand? We have suppressed demand, but have we been able to create demands which can be commercially handled? So that is another great issue that challenge will continue to be, even for conventional power. And when we start getting on the higher range of this capacity of 500 gigawatt, obviously demand would continue to be a challenge. And it is not to say that India has already reached a very high level of per capita consumption. At 1200 kilowatt hour, we have a long way to go. But there is something which is missing, that the demand, enough consumption is not happening. Mr. Popley mentioned about finance. Finance will be an issue. We had an issue in the conventional side. Bankers had left. And unless we set right our house in order in total chain of supply, obviously, after doing maybe 100 gigawatt, 100,000 megawatt, 200,000 megawatt, when we cross on the renewable, we may start feeling the difficulty of all these capacities being financed, because then concerns of bankers, payments, etc., would arise. So I think arranging, Mr. Popley gave a figure of something like $500 billion of financing that would be needed. It would be a challenge. It's not that I'm trying to say that it cannot be met, because India has to go a long way beyond 1200 kilowatt hour of consumption per head. So therefore, whatever is the missing gaps and linking gaps, we will have to see how they are met. Matching transmission, we have right from the beginning we have talked. Some action has already been initiated by our power grid and POSOCO. They are all working hard to create green corridor. And as we go further, it is not that transmission cannot be done, but transmission to be done matching with this target. I mean, if we have to do 500 gigawatt by 2030 or even by 2032-33, obviously doing the accompanying or matching transmission system would continue to be a challenge which I wouldn't say it is not doable, but it would be very difficult to handle this. Backup in the evening storage, I mean, some response. For the first time, we are seeing Indian power sector, public sector and private sector responding well in advance. I'm sure the storage, pump storage, more hydro, battery backup, hydrogen, other technology developments might happen. And at the same time, the coal people may get into something which are some areas of technology development which will be more benign, practically free from carbon emissions. These are the challenges that are there, and those challenges are difficult, but I think definitely we'll have to handle. And I think apart from all this, the most important challenge of all would be the financial health of distribution companies. Finally, all these investments that we have talked and all the challenges and opportunities that we have tried to integrate, that converge on one, that if we are not able to manage our electricity distribution at the retail level in a financially sustainable manner and a technically sustainable manner, then obviously that challenge will be challenge of challenges. So I think that would be uppermost. But overall, I want to be very optimistic that as a target, this is a great target. It's a target which can be met. Maybe we might slip in terms of time by a few years, but if we take these safeguards and handle the challenges, some of which I have just narrated, some of which Mr. Popley mentioned in his opening remarks, if they are addressed in time, in advance, right decision and timely decisions, I am optimistic that this can be done. Thank you very much. The question answers. So those who wish to, you can indicate, and then we can. Partha, you have some point. You is of course linked discussion, but we had a meeting on this journey towards net zero. Prime Minister himself has said that coal no-go situation is 2070. I quoted in one of my pieces that Indian International Energy Agency has said that uh, by 2040 you will still have additional power generation through coal, but the growth will be less. I think it's not that. Another reason of new power station perhaps may be that we should phase out some of the very old and inefficient power plants where heat rate is very high, and maybe in those places maybe small medium reactors. Nuclear we had a discussion, and nuclear there is unanimity that nuclear should raise its share. The issue is financing, issue is project management. So I think on these issues we have done a couple of seminars where better clarity came on this. Now here the challenge of doing 500 gigawatt, that this we focused attention on, that is a big number, and what its implications are and how do we handle this. And in that today good questions are coming. If we are thinking of even 400 gigawatt or 300 gigawatt, how it impacts the grid, where is the storage that is coming, storage, you see there are issues. Then Raja Shankar raised a very good point. Of course, for every village we won't need 1 megawatt. It may be maybe 10, 15, 20 villages. 1 megawatt is a big number. So decentralized generation, Ajay, has already started happening. You might have seen the tender from Maharashtra and others that in rural area they are trying to, near their substations, chota substations, they are trying to facilitate solar systems, and they will be feeding into those substations so that even this micro grid that is not necessary, you will be. I think some of these developments, so many developments are happening. My only fear is that in 10 years, if we have too much of it, then too much, I like managing prosperity is sometimes more difficult than managing the scarcity. So I think you may not get confused into this. Rooftop, again, we are encouraging. Decentralized generation also we are encouraging. Ultra solar also we are encouraging. Then in the meantime, we are also creating green corridor. So it shouldn't happen that finally we settle somewhere that in all areas, all our assets are underutilized, underutilized. And finally, so that fear is there. And therefore, not a session like this, but this would require very extensive computerized working and exercises. What sort of models should emerge on this planning of the whole thing? Rooftop, decentralized solar, hybrid solar, wind, battery, hydrogen transportation. You mentioned, Mohit, but in one of the seminars, I understood. That's not my subject, but I understood that what they are talking is like fuel cell, hydrogen cell will be there. So it will be like module. So finally, there could be one method in which transportation liquid hydrogen is also an issue. But other will be like your solar module, you will be hydrogen fuel cell. So I think there the transportation issue wouldn't be that predominant. So I think where many things are emerging, I think all these needs to be sort of synthesized, orchestrated. Of course, today we have ended up. I mean, I remember 2003 we were crying for more capacity, and today we are not utilizing capacity. One of the challenges I mentioned was how do we raise the consumption with such a useless management of retail power supply, where everybody is begging for money because finally money is coming from there. Ajay says that even decentralized generation will be handled by electricity distribution company, and the fate will be same as the other retail business that is happening. So I think so many inputs are coming. A little more involved, not discussion, but a little more involved exercise will be needed. But the points made are valid. I don't see that coal is going away till many replacement of the old plant will definitely come. But growth of coal-based generation, which used to happen in the range of 5 papers, this might till 2000 might be in the range of 2%, 3%. That will be the situation. Okay, next. This I will have a seminar only on this. One sun, one world, one grid. We will have a seminar. It declares a serious subject. Cross-border in South Asia, the type of challenges. But it is not that it cannot be done. But we will have a seminar only on this. Okay.
Thank you.
because it's not easy to answer. You see, if you have to if you have to have even South Asia, then I have been struggling for the last 12 years to create a South Asia infrastructure on transmission. All that we have been able to do is about 7,000 to 8,000 megawatts so far of interconnection facility, but trading is a little less than that. So I think you go beyond South Asia, then you go, I mean, you create South Asia and West Asia, then you go for. I think we will have one seminar on discussion on this itself, and we will take that discussion into different aspects, how technical aspects, political aspects. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think you are saying the same thing. Means there are opinions on coal continuing for a number of years. So I think one thing is very clear. I also responded to Partha that growth of coal-based power generation will be, but drastically less, and that beyond 2050, what will happen, nobody can say, because in the next 5-10 years, some other technological disruptions might happen. So you can't forecast beyond that. Anybody can make a guess. So therefore, and then replacing old power plants, coal-based power plants, which are inefficient, would provide an opportunity for some new ones. Increase the proportion from present less than 2% to higher percentage. So those are the things that are happening. In the end, as I said, that where we have to do the last 10-15% of the total capacity, how the mix will originate, not only in terms of technologies, but also in terms of whether it is mega or it is decentralized or it is rooftop, because that would very much determine the cost of transmission. Do you know, in the whole country, there is a big hue and cry that cost of transmission is increasing. It shouldn't happen that we end up everywhere on overbuilding the capacity and finally not utilizing it properly. So I think last 20% of the capacity has to be fine-tuned in terms of how do we integrate and what really should emerge. The trend in increasing everywhere is pakka, but that is where last 15-20. Suppose you are talking of 800,000 megawatt. In 800,000 megawatt, let's say 20%, 160,000 megawatt. That 160,000 megawatt, how it will be synthesized? How much of rooftop, how much of decentralized, how much of this, how much of that? Those are the things that will have to be worked. And that can always be done. The issue here is, how do you balance solar when solar radiation is not there? And I mean, see, so far as our discussion in India, you have seen several discussions. There is no ready answer. Even Ajay Shankar has done a lot of work on this, but on storage, affordable cost storage, we don't have yet an answer here. So let us wait for China to give you an answer. Maybe China gave an answer on module. It is not that module was not known in Europe or USA for the last 50-60 years, but finally in the last 5 years, transformation of module prices have happened. So similarly, let us wait for some country who can give an answer to the storage cost. If the storage cost reduces, today it is 5 times. If it reduces, obviously then you have an answer. In the meantime, India, I think we made those points: hydropower, pump storage. These are some of the things which need to be done, so that then flexibilization of coal-based power generation, and big exercise is going on in all small and big power generation companies. How do we flexibilize our operations? Can we back down to the extent of 35%? Bring it down. I mean, super critical, they are saying more than 50% we cannot back down. Can we back down further? So that is available, because as you know that there are limitations with thermal power stations. So thermal power stations can themselves be backup for solar, provided adequate amount of flexibilization in operational strategy happens. So let's wait for these developments. So many things are happening in so many places. I think, as I said, that we need to integrate all these exercises, synthesize them, and then the last 20% of extra addition, we should be careful. Otherwise, last 20% of extra addition in everything, maybe 30%, maybe surplus, superfluous, and heavily costly.
Okay.
I think that would, I think 1:30 was our time. I have another place to go for a meeting in the Ministry of Power. just
So, sir,
now. So
I
I
think
think
Secretary MNER has not yet come back.
no, I think we could. He may not have been free from there. We can have the vote of thanks.